4:00. Extension meeting order.
Yeah, I'm gonna call Bob, this thing's reading offline. But I can,
You want me to hold off a minute?
nah.
Okay. Everybody had a chance to look at the minutes from 7:5?
Yeah, I just curious.
Oh, internet is on.
It said that the stove got sent back to finance?
It did, yep, we prevailed.
Did we?
Yeah.
Okay, so was it.
But back when I did those minutes, that was the case. It did get sent back.
Oh, okay, I was just curious, I didn't see anything on the agenda for it, so I was just.
It was on the agenda for
Um,
Friday night, I think it was. Huh? No.
Basically what it come down to, John, is the money was appropriated last year, it wasn't billed last year, so the money didn't get reappropriated this year
Okay,
to pay for what happened.
gotcha, makes sense.
And it was more, so,
I knew it
yes.
was- I thought it was more, you had said it was possible.
So it's now reappropriated?
It is now coming out of the equipment fund.
Okay.
It's here and installed.
He'll be trying it out this weekend.
Attaboy. Light her up.
That's.
Is there any questions? Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion's been made to approve the minutes of the July meeting. Is there a second? Second by Lois.
It just came out.
Is there any further questions or comments or corrections on the minutes? Being heard, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Anybody for public comment? Being heard. Fairgrounds report.
So much to say. Property's gonna be meeting out there on Friday and they will do, a walk around, so jail, or, I have to think of the new names, the chuck wagon and the watering hole is, pretty much ready to go. The log cabin, I had to order 10 more sheets of that rock paneling that they're putting on the bottom, but that should be done before the fair. It just looks 100% amazing out there. And so, yeah, we're gonna get it going. We had a lot of activity, actually. Last weekend was the Blue Hills Equestrian Pony Club Horse Show. And then there was a showmanship thing on Monday night, so, but so much work has been done out at the fairgrounds, it's phenomenal.
It looks phenomenal, it really does.
Yeah. Yep, the cement's all done.
Did they don't bleachers seat set up?
No,
Not yet.
that won't happen until next year.
Oh, next year, okay.
Cause we already rented them, and so one that, I haven't responded to the email, one wants to come in this weekend and the other's next week, so.
That's actually, Dean and I moved them from the high school, Dean Chesky, both Saturday and Sunday. And we put them at the Gates building out there because the fairgrounds is gonna be so packed. But we sat down and did some figuring and it's over 7,000 volts to put it back together. So, yeah.
You had bolts?
No, they were an old rusty screw that was in it, and believe me, we battled to get them apart. So it's got, when it gets put back together, it's gotta get put back together with carriage bolts and, but yeah, there's, what is there, 7,683 or something like that we figured out. But there's a lot of them.
You must have been really bored to figure that out.
There was also a broken water line north of the dairy barn, so, boys got a bit muddy fixing that.
It was actually in the show ring,
Yeah,
in the entrance to the beef barn.
so roll with the punches and the Ferris wheel is up and running, so that's super cool, that's a fair thing, but, yeah, it's great,
Is there gonna be free parking this time?
It always has been.
yeah.
Can we have a sign that says that?
It's on every schedule,
People didn't know that though, cause I talked to a lady when I was sitting waiting for the rodeo to start, and she said she didn't know that, and she was charged.
well,
No,
wouldn't
she
have been
wasn't charged for parking, she would have been she'd have been charged for gate admittance. There is gate admittance,
Yeah.
but you're not charged for parking.
Oh, well, she said she was, and she didn't know who I was. So I just thought, we need a sign up there that says free parking, and what does it hurt?
Yeah, we can put that at gates, but if that issue happens again, they need to come into the fair office, so, but yeah. There was only 1 year in our 12 years that we charged parking, and that was like, I think, the first year, and we haven't done it in a decade now, so. Yeah. And we actually have a shuttle, Rusk Transit called, and there's gonna be 2 buses shuttling back and forth. So things are coming together, even though it's quite chaotic, so.
To say the least. Usage agreements for fairgrounds.
Just one for
Just
Farm
one?
Bureau. Mhm.
Rusk County Farm Bureau wants to use would like to use, rephrase that, the, old OLS building for our annual meeting, which would be August 31st. I'll make a motion to approve. Motion's been made to approve. Is there a second? John isn't going to because he sits on the Farm Bureau board with me, so. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the usage agreement for Farm Bureau. All in favor signify by aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
There's one more thing I wanna mention, I didn't get a chance to do an addendum, but I mentioned that the Pony Club was at the fair last weekend. I'm just gonna pull up a map. Here's the horse arena, I'll better pull up the map first. There was a building, Flambeau Riders thought they used to own, but they don't own it, it's a county-owned building, it used to be like a changing room. It's north of the non-electric camping, and, for years, we weren't able to get into it, we didn't have a key or anything, so Rob last week cut the lock, put a new lock on it, and there's a bunch of cool stuff in there. Well, when I was working with the Pony Club, they said, I mentioned that building, that it was rekeyed, and do they need a key, and she's like, well, all that stuff's ours. Really? Okay, so, who said you could put it in there? Well, you did. I said, I don't have the authority to grant you sole use of a building. I said, I'm gonna have to run this by committee, so I didn't get it on the agenda, but I'll throw it on next week, next month. I just don't know what to do with that. If they want sole use of a building, it's, Horse Project should be able to use that, the fairgrounds should be able to use that. All the stuff in
Where
there.
is this building?
Okay, I'm sorry, fairgrounds map, I'll show you. It's this little storage building right there, so there's a door
Okay,
here
Where'd you go?
and a door there. I'm at the way north part of the fairgrounds. So here's the horse arena concession, it's right there.
Oh, okay.
Nobody's used it.
That building sitting out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, kind of.
Yep, so here, when Flambeau Riders vacated, some of the members are part of the horse project that transitioned into the Pony Club. And so they must have just kept the key or something, cause maintenance has never had one. So we went in there, we're like, this would be great to put like campground stuff in it, marshmallow sticks, wood, the above ground fire pit, all of that stuff. Or have the horse project, cause they just have the little garage here for all their stuff. So anyway, they're like, yeah, it's ours. I'm like, well, if you're wanting sole use of that, we're gonna have to talk about that at committee and see what they wanna do. I don't know what we really can do. We can tell them you need to take your stuff. But anyway, so stay tuned, that'll be next month, I guess.
Rich?
Well, as far as Rusk Restorative Youth Program goes, it was a slow month and extremely busy week, if that helps at all. I'm gonna sit down because my knee is killing me, so excuse me. By and large, a lot of my focus was still in drug court this last month, and that has presented its fair share of problems. But in the last couple of weeks, as far as our RYP goes, this report is kind of outdated because I picked up 3 new registrations for Prime for Life. One Prime for Life person who had been in there for possession of marijuana at school had to complete the Prime for Life program prior to being allowed back in school. That person was expelled last year for the remainder of the year. So I didn't have enough participants. So what I did do is bring that person into my office, and on an individual basis, obviously it doesn't work as good as it does with a group, but I did manage to run that individual through the entire Prime for Life program in one day. And get that person through so that they can go back to school again this year without doing remote. So did extremely well, very, very successful in doing that. Like I said, I've got 3 new registrations that'll probably run the program. Again, it looks like I'm gonna have, looking at the court schedule, I should pick up 2 more during this coming month. And that'll give me my 5 and probably run the program. I don't wanna get too late in October, cause I obviously don't wanna interfere with ball money. So that has an effect, but I do wanna get them through as quickly as possible. This last week in court, I had 3 additional registrations for teen traffic, and it looks like there's several more coming during the balance of the month. Vaping is still an issue that I can see. So as soon as school starts and the principals get up and work the bugs out of their early system, I intend to go out and meet with them probably early in September and see if we can come up with some solutions for the vaping problems that they had last year. What I understand last year, they even gave up on calling the sheriff's department when they caught any kids vaping. They'd just take the vape pens away and throw them in the drawer. But sometimes they were taking vape pens away from an individual on a weekly basis, so that obviously was not solving the problem or even close to solving it. So that's the plan there. Like I said, a lot of my, I've got one victim impact panel that was pending. That individual is leaving for college at the end of the month, so in lieu of the victim impact panel, that person is volunteered to come in and sit on the teen traffic court panel for one session going forward, so that kind of accomplishes that level of community service. So sometimes I have to adapt, improvise, and overcome when we get close to school time and we've got individuals that have graduated this spring or going to college and having it completed. So we've pretty much gone that route. Other than that, a lot of my time is still spent for the drug court program, and hopefully keeping that sort of going down the path that it needs to go down. As far as the budget, that was on the agenda, and Crystal sent that out, but she's got all the information on my RYP budget, except it was lacking a significant increase in wages for the coordinator. I noticed, that should be at least double. Not kidding. But anyway, so that's where we're at. I see teen court and everything else going back to the levels that it was somewhat in the area of last year when I look at the court calendars going forward. So that's where we're at. But apparently my summer vacation, as far as teen court, is probably passed by the wayside now. I'm encouraged because kids are still getting in trouble. I thought they were all being saints there for the time. On a side note, it appears that I spoke with Riley today, and as far as the drugs in the county, they have come across some meth that was laced with fentanyl here, so, a terrific concern. That hadn't showed up until this last week or so. So hopefully, we don't end up with anybody taking that to the extreme where they end up in the morgue. Anyway, that's pretty much all I have at this time.
Any questions for Rich? All right, thank you.
Thanks, Rich.
See you tomorrow, probably. Okay.
Crystal, do you have the RRYP budget or just like that breakdown?
Just that breakdown that I sent earlier that just shows the projected for this year. For next year, there really aren't any substantial changes in it. I didn't send that one out.
Okay.
That one we did submit to finance, but it didn't occur to me to send that to you guys. But
Yeah,
there really aren't any changes substantial from this year to next year, looking forward on any of those.
I will say probably prior to this point, you and I talked about that, you know, there was very little, revenue generated from, application fees and what have you. And I probably had more revenue generated in the past week than I did in the past 4 or 5 months. So that's moving along too, so.
so just keep in mind, next year, it's supposed to go through your oversight committee first.
Okay.
Before it goes to finance.
Alright. So with the, cause the deadline for that was the July 24th, so should we have just sent it to you guys when we sent it to finance, or how was?
Should've come to us in the July meeting.
Oh, okay, so, I don't think we had it ready at that point, so, okay.
I don't
will
think
make-
any of us had it ready then.
I will watch very closely for next year, and we'll make sure we do that then, so.
Yeah, cause budget hearings are next week, I think, so,
So, yeah.
I think the deadline to get it into finance was the 14th,
Was, yeah,
July 14th.
24th last week.
Oh, 24th, yeah, okay, yeah, and then, yeah,
Okay, yeah, I will, do you want me to forward it out now when I get back to the office, or?
it's gonna be on the agenda until the county board passes it, so,
Okay.
you know, after the budget hearing, if there's changes, if you wanna throw that out, and then I'll throw it in the packet,
Okay.
so, yeah, it's on for several months, you know.
Have anything to build court? Nothing to send to you.
No, so the judge and Lori did email me, so nothing on drug court. We can call Annette if we have any questions.
We may need to clarify where that comes from, because right, it might come from services.
Yeah, we should probably figure that out. Okay. Cause yeah, that oversight, is that official yet?
Who's the report?
Yeah, it's.
Okay, I'll talk to Jeremy,
Yeah,
see
it
how
might
he
be a
wants that to
Transition.
happen, okay. Alright,
It would be reported, so yeah, it would be.
okay, yeah, I didn't even think of HHS. Okay,
I see Ellen sent some stuff, so.
yep, and Crystal's here to talk about that.
So really nothing big different or changing from last month, the numbers did go out, Charlie would have forwarded those to you. There's just one out of county travel request for the, Class A conference in September. And other than that, if there's any questions, I can hopefully answer them for you.
Is there any questions about the other county travel request? September 13th to the 15th, 2023. Criminal Law Agency Support Staff Association, it's a Class A conference in Onalaska, Wisconsin. The, total is $380.
I'll make a motion.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the out-of-county travel. Any further questions or comments? None being heard, all in favor signify by aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Crystal, can you speak at all for circuit clerk too, or?
No, I don't have anything.
She didn't send anything. Usually we just get those quarterly things, and we got that last month.
Okay.
We'll need a proposed budget.
I will email them all out saying, please have your budgets ready.
Jesse, I guess you're up.
Hold on, let me do the budget first. You want us to look at that?
I'll pull it up while you talk.
Okay, and then also the math, if you could please. So we are just busy getting fair ready. I think we're close. We have a meeting tonight for kind of last minute stuff. Hope everyone's gonna plan to come down, spend some time with us. Working very, very hard. The one thing, we don't have any contracts today at all, cause we're set already, so, budget's very similar to last year. I don't think a whole lot changed in it. Is there anything you wanted to point out?
Can you double that?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I have to make these bigger, I don't know. Yeah.
Jesse, speaking, I have another meeting tonight.
Okay, so, oh no, I don't want something. The number you all want to see is down here, zero levy. So, yeah, Jamie actually, bless her heart, did my budgets for me, I just couldn't fit it in there. We are already over in revenue in some of these things, woot woot. So you'll have some better numbers next time, and I'll process a lot more bills. There'll be a whopping bill report next time, so it'll look different, but if anything, we're going to project that we carry money into our non-levying fund is zero levy budget, so.
Things are looking really good for us from our donation side, sponsors, so. We've made it where we want it to be, so actually over where we want it to be.
And we've, advertising, we've gone over in that, but, you know, the girls were on WEAU TV this morning, they were at National Night Out last night. We have now advertising, we recorded spots, several of us recorded spots will be on 99.1 and all of those radio stations over there. We did a bunch with Wax, we're all over Facebook, so, we'll have an ad in this week's paper. So, we've broadened our reach, significantly this year, so, hope it pays up.
We do also this year have Bob Olson on grounds.
Oh, yes, Bob's coming from Wax, he's gonna do a spot, and Farm Bureau, sponsored that, so, yeah,
What, 3 hours or 4? 3.
don't remember.
He's here, I think, for 3 hours, doing 2 spotlight interviews kind of ahead of time, and then he'll randomly do them also throughout the time he's here. So we found some, really old pictures when he was young that I'm kind of excited to show him with some of our adult members in our community now, when they were children showing it there, so it kind of goes with their theme of the remember when thing he was here, and so it's kind of it's a super cute one on one of the local doctors. She was probably about 10, 12 just, she was little and he's interviewing her, it's really cute, so.
That's who that is.
Yeah. You guys are okay? I don't have any questions with that, budget side?
revenue, I can't talk expenses,
That's fine.
not far.
What was revenue?
I can pull that up for you. It was $23,750 somewhere in there.
450, I think.
450.
It was a very, very good night. We had really positive comments. Did hear one, as Lois just brought that up about parking, one gentleman walked in and had them said, "Is your parking free?" I'm like, yes, it's just pay at the gate. He's like, "Oh," so we went back in his car and came in, but, so we did have that question, that was working great. So we had really positive comments from everyone, all of the hooks, from all the drivers.
That was increased, we had 85, 84,
Very-
84.
Very well attended, I mean,
Oh, yes, phenomenal pictures. Connie has one in her office, I haven't seen it yet. Super cool, super cool.
I
We
think
did,
the only thing I run into out there that night is a little bit better control of the kids on the guardrail.
that and more potties, we did
I
not
was
have
gonna
enough.
say restrooms, that was a
We did not have
big,
enough.
big thing, and I went to Sheldon this last weekend, and they had, I believe, 8 of them, and they were continuously in use, so that is a big thing out here, we're gonna have to get more of
Yes.
those next time.
Yes, we will definitely improve upon that.
So that was the big thing we heard, so.
And I fully stocked them with toilet paper before, and yeah, they're just,
Yep, I stopped during,
yep.
but, that's actually, kind of putting the cart before the horse, so that's something we just barely touched on, and we'll talk a little more through there. Maybe purchasing some, because they're very expensive to rent. So, and when we were just looking quickly at them, it's almost more, I guess, responsible for us to probably purchase them and have them serviced versus, keep renting like we're doing, so.
Yeah.
You know, we don't get a break, and the county has, a couple, but we need a lot, we'll have 15, 16 at the fair total.
We'll actually have a total of 13, 14, 15, 16 at the fair, yeah.
And that, then plus the 2 actual, flushing restrooms, and they still have to be stocked, I mean, they get very well used, so.
Extra servicing every day, yeah.
So that's something we just, as the fair, we need to take some of that money, buy some, that's for the county. So, on my request on D, so that it makes sense to them. So you had approved us, so we redid both buildings, and when I first came to you for alcohol sales, we were only selling in the JLO pavilion, and that was gonna be where our stuff was happening at. Well, being that we remodeled both the JLO pavilion and the OLS building, sorry, we are only approved like that green box right there approximately where we were
To the
putting,
east end of the grandstands, basically.
that's where we were putting barricades and then no alcohol beyond that. We're gonna have picnic tables in the corn boil, gonna be all down in that area now. So I'm wondering if we can get to where the blue, I don't know what that signifies, hospital, firefighter, I don't know what that signifies.
I think water.
Water, could I get approval to put our barricades there so that people could sit at the picnic tables? Nothing changes with the buildings, with the ordinance, you can't have anything in buildings anywhere. That's all staying the same, I'm not asking for that, I'm just asking for that little piece of road, if we could just move the barricades to there and then have our signs, no alcohol past that point. So if they wanted to get food and then come out and sit at the tables, they could.
Cause otherwise they don't have a place to sit, right?
There is some down up where to the left, where it shows there's the pavilion there, but there's no food in that area.
Oh, okay.
Because we have our food and alcohol completely separate.
Yep.
In the JLO pavilion, you can't go in there, or you're served only on the outside.
That'll still be fenced all the way around there, right? Is that what that is? Where you're gonna sell
Over here, yes. But this whole area is not fenced in, there was gonna be a barricade here, no alcohol behind this, beyond this point,
And all-
in
all-
here, yeah.
And one there.
Yep.
So it's gonna cover both entrances.
Yes, yes.
It's actually just past the bathrooms where we got it, on the
Oh,
west side.
yeah, sorry.
I don't see no harm in that.
It had what, 60, 70 feet in length, I think, so.
That's really not even that much.
I didn't measure, but it isn't very big. At all.
And then there are picnic tables in that area?
Next to the building, so between the grandstands and the OLS building, there's some, and then all south, there'll be a whole bunch across the road and everything.
So basically what you're asking for is just to move the barricade back to the new spot.
The door to the building, if you want to say like a third of the way down that wall, back to the east. We
Well,
just
right
wanna
where
be,
the D is at,
yeah, we just wanna be right past that, so they can go into the building and then come out.
Okay, so again, you're not even really asking for a whole lot of piece of real estate there. So, we need to make this a motion. I make a motion.
I just have a quick question. So just so I totally understand, so it's just gonna be that area, not across the road, right? Just that small little area
No, so
up to the blue thing?
as far as, so both roads will be blocked really. Like we put a barricade across, they can't go on the other road either.
Okay.
So, but they can come south because all of that area is technically fenced in. So, if that's where if you, probably something else if I might, if we go back to when, Sheriff Wallace was here, we talked about that, it's all technically fenced according to, it's not Corpus, it's what they call it, but it's a fenced in area, which is the alcohol policy requires for the county, so.
there's a resolution, that it has to be in a fenced-in area.
That was based off our other resolution. They had come with that game plan in order to get that far.
I just understand the depth of that, or how far that area would actually go. That was just.
So you see where, that map is exactly, where it says the inflatable area there?
Yep.
That isn't accurate, the inflatable goes to the west of that, okay? That area is kind of where the picnic tables are doing the corn boil actually, where they have corn boil on the road. The inflatables actually are further to the west, they're straight out from the grandstands.
So people will be able to take beer and then go to the corn list?
Yes.
Oh, okay, so that's kinda like how.
Just like how we had it in the
that
past.
was a farmer's breakfast in Brigoni,
Dairy breakfast,
I'm dairy breakfast.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, alright. I see now.
I already made a motion.
there's a motion made, there's a second. Second by Jonathan. Is there any further questions or comments on the motion on the floor? None made heard, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
One other quick thing that reminded me, new this year too, or I think years ago they had it, but we do have, the sheriff's department is bringing their command post down this year, so they're getting, I think it might be housed in Barron County, a large trailer, they're gonna be on site. And we are also having 2 canine, demonstrations both Friday and Saturday. we've added that, Brittany contacted them and Riley and Ben are both coming, and I believe one of the other officers too, so then they're going to increase also their presence on the grounds later this year, so they'll be around, company, so, which they always are around anyway, but.
And they have drones on top of this command center, so they'll be able to drive all over. They can operate it from here down there, so that'll be super cool.
That's right.
Well, they'd have to go in a building to spy on me, so.
Yeah, just go tap on the glass.
They'll hear me up here.
So that's kind of exciting. Come down and join us too. Any questions?
Anything else you got for us, or?
Did you wanna approve the budget?
I signed Kate and I up for parking on Friday,
Well, thank you.
and I told Charmaine, but I'll tell you too, is my camper's not gonna come in, so you got one spot loosened up. And just take everything, whatever it costs me for donation.
Is it in your job?
I'm gonna drive.
Well, thank you. Very much.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion's been made to approve the budget. Is there a second? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Motion made and seconded. Is there any further questions or comments on the budget? None being heard. All in favor, signify by aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Jess.
Yes.
Trails End.
I wanted to thank Dave Butterfield for filling the majority of the logs for the pavilion. They had ordered more oven racks, cause only 2 came with the stove. And, Mary, Big Mountain said in July, she had the 4-H camp, for, Rusk and Sawyer County. There were 24 kids plus counselors, and they did a service project, and they had a jungle theme.
What kind of thing?
She had a drug.
Jungle.
Jungle theme.
I still didn't catch it.
For the record.
She's going to be at the fair in the education tent. Her theme is gonna be Remember When at the Fair, with pictures and games for kids to play while the adults look at the pictures. The committee decided to schedule a picnic in the park tentatively for September 24th, depending on if the Van Lincoln band can make it. When he hoped to have an answer by the end of this week. He was having some trouble getting people together. And we discussed activities for picnic in the pines. That was my report.
Cece's last day was the 31st. She turned in, everything, so I met with her. The position was posted, it closes on Sunday. It was only posted a week. Hopefully interviews will be set next week with a quick hire. In the meantime, I've talked today to one of our trustees who's going to be helping out, which is huge because this vacancy couldn't have been at a worse time.
You can't clone yourself?
No, well, I'd have to, yeah, it's just not gonna work. So anyway, unfortunately, we are jam-packed. We have a group that comes in Friday, leaves Sunday. We'll have to clean Sunday night, cause then there's a group coming Monday, staying through Thursday. We'll have to clean Friday morning, cause there's another. Yeah, so it's gonna be fun. So hopefully, that can move fairly quickly. So I don't know if Ashley reached out to, the committee to see who wanted to be on that, ad hoc committee meeting.
I haven't heard yet.
Okay, cause I called Terry and Terry's like, just call around and see who's available, so I told her that.
I haven't heard.
So I'm sure hopefully Monday she'll be doing that. I know there's already some interviews Monday, but since it closes Sunday, that probably won't if it could just happen before the fair, that would be sweet, but, don't know. So anyway, I guess stay tuned on that. Ashley will probably be calling around unless somebody just wants to volunteer. But I have no idea when it'll be next week, so.
There's already one or two next week too.
Yeah. So, so she did leave, you know, what she completed, what she hasn't, future ideas, and she's willing to train whoever the new person is, so that is huge. It's just, she's already started her new adventure in life, so it's, just gonna be a very challenging week or two. And as for, my part, I did go back to finance a second time, and, they approved not only the stove, but the oven racks too. So, that was great, so that'll come out of the equipment fund. I did swear an oath that we would not go over budget, so, a certain number of property will hold me to that. So, yeah, it'll be an interesting year. But anyway, but right now, most of the revenue is not even in, so, we should be okay this year, now that the two big expenses, the tree cleanup and the stove, are taken care of. So yeah, we did, have an inspection. That was during Iron County, and we had hardly any notice. I think the afternoon, I received an email, hey, we're inspecting you tomorrow, okay. So everything went well. Our new licensor for the county is not able to do them herself, so a lady from DATCAP came from Green Bay, and that was the only time she could come, so it's like, yep, I'll drop whatever and go out there. Cece was not able to attend, but I covered enough. I knew how to push the button on a smoke alarm, that's all I had to do maintenance wise. So yeah, we passed our inspection. Only one little nitpicky thing, the medication and treatment logs that youth groups have to use, they want them to be printed professionally, so. But the code is changing this fall, so I said, I have enough to last this summer, I'll wait before we spend money on pre-printed medication logs until you guys decide what you all want. So that's pretty much it, other than, yeah, the vacancy. Yeah.
How's the pavilion going?
Oh, cement was poured, last week. It was the day we had that huge rainstorm. It was poured that morning. So yeah. And then in the heat of the summer, I forget when it was, it was July 4th. July 3rd, finally, the logs were able to get moved the way they should be. Apparently, they were stacked on top of one another, one with bark. I don't know, I don't understand it all. But anyway, they were starting to rot. So unfortunately, CC had to spend July 4th. Because Thompson's came in on that Monday, the 3rd, moved them how they were supposed to be, and she quickly did what she had to do with insecticide and all of that. So, yeah. So our part of the pavilion is done. Now we just have to wait for the contractor to come and finish it. So.
Did you get any schedule on that?
No, I figured after the fair I'd call him, or when there's a hire. She gave me the contact information, I have all of that, it's just I was waiting to see the new person. But he knows my number because I had to get the W-9 and all that jazz from him, so yeah. But I have several 3-day weeks scheduled off on the calendar, and then they will stay at camp that night, so they think they can get her done in 3 days, what they have to do, so. But I don't know when that'll be. Hopefully September, if not October. So that's it for Trails End, unless you have any questions.
Sounds good, thank you. Thanks, Lois. Lori, Mary?
Woo-hoo.
Mind if I sit here? don't mind, I'm hoping I could request a little feedback on what you've heard about 4-H, what we're doing. Just around the room if we had time to share one comment or two. I believe feedback is a breakfast of leadership, and I would like to make sure I'm getting feedback from our committee. And if this isn't the place for it, tell me where that would be.
This would not be the place in open session.
Okay, fair. I'm looking for more feedback from the committee in a forum that you would be comfortable.
And that, if there's anything that's got to do with that, with any names that could be mentioned, that needs to be done in a closed session.
Okay,
We cannot do that, there is not one listed here today.
fair.
We could in September list one for that, but as of today, we cannot.
That's fair. And come see me or tell me where to find you. I'll bring coffee and we can chat if you don't mind. Okay, thank you. So updates from 4-H. So I hope you've heard, read the paper this week. There's an article in there about the camp that went well, 4-H camp. And Lois, thank you for giving the overview of that. The next thing we completed was a field trip for 4-H. There were 111 youth from across the state, nearly 40 from Rusk County that went to Oshkosh. That went well. We sent 111 out and 111 came back. So that is what I'm most proud of. We're working on the reimbursements now. That was funded mostly by a $7,500 grant from the 4-H Foundation that we applied for earlier last year. That event led to increase of one addition of one 4-H club for Rusk County, the Falcon 4-Hers, and 20 new registrations, enrollments in 4-H that we're happy about. Last night, we were involved in the National Night Out. What a great event that was by Cheyenne. I was happy to have a 4-H booth there. I would say we spoke to over 100 kids, and speaking to their families, just amazing how many said, yes, I'd be interested in 4-H, but as we know, people are very busy, so I would say over 20 families said they'd be interested in joining, and I've given out cards and given out the link, and I'll continue to follow up when I get their contact. So really a great event yesterday. We handed out some emergency youth preparedness kits yesterday. I had received a grant from FEMA for over 100 kits, and so families went home with reflective backpacks. And one of the first things they need an emergency kit, which is a flashlight, of course, and a link to a website where Wisconsin has resources listed to prepare for that. We are ready. 4-H is ready for the fair next week. We will be doing bracelets at our booth and dino events, and
Mary, don't admit that, because nobody's ready for this fair until it's over with, believe me.
Somebody has to be ready.
That's Shirley, she's been through enough of them.
it's an exciting time. There's so much going on at that end of the hall. It's great to be a part of it. This is what invigorates me, so I imagine we're all having fun together. The third thing I'm working on there is helping with the community, collecting some 4-H photos to support that theme of Remember When, the fair theme, and look at 4-H, what we've looked at throughout the year. So I have some pictures from Bruce, from when the fair used to be there, and we'll put those, we'll laminate them, we'll put some titles on them, and they'll be in the log tent. When you walk in, there's gonna be Legos at the round table and some historical pictures, so we can all remember.
You mentioned Remember When. Excuse me for taking up some time, but my dad was born in 1930 and was in a 4-H club up home. And to earn one of his 4-H pins, he had to pull poison ivy by the roots in them days. He was very lucky because he was immune to it, but he said some of the rest of the kids in the club didn't fare so good.
Love to see how that was written, right?
I would too. My mom's got the pins yet that he earned for doing it, but if she knows where she put them.
Oh, that would be neat, even to take a picture of it.
I'll ask her, if I can get them, I'll bring them in, 'cause that would have been in probably 43, 44, somewhere in there.
That will be something to see. Thanks for adding that. Thanks.
We don't have any of those anymore.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you probably cannot get away with that.
I don't even think Girl Scouts do that.
Bringing that theme up has led to a lot of great conversations in our community. I've really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to see what we have at the fair. So Bray, if you have photos you wanna drop off, we have a bin right inside the office. You drop them off, we'll laminate them. My goal is to have comments on there, what they're from, so I don't have to try to guess when people ask me. So, what else? Other support to 4-H families, we received a anonymous $2,000 donation for Rusk County projects, so that I've received a phone call, I'm coordinating for the paper check to come into our office, so a lot of good things happening. We are planning a volunteer appreciation event on the 9th of September at 10 a.m. It will be a red carpet event at the theater that we're renting out for our 4-H families and volunteers. So we'll have a photo booth, red carpets and boas, and just taking the time to recognize all the efforts we've had throughout the year. We also had an intern application out, so we're wondering if there are any applicants for that. We'll talk offline. And those are the comments I had, pending your questions.
I don't think any of us would know about that. You probably have to ask Ashley about the intern, what, like when it was closed and stuff.
Yeah.
She handles all that.
Heard anything, so, okay.
That red carpet event is at the theater here, the Main Theater.
Yes, we're excited about it. You can come join the photo booth if you like. I'm not releasing officially what movie will be played, so it'll be an event there. We'll have some fun coming in on the red carpet off the Main Street, Miners Avenue, and then do the photo booth, hand out awards, and watch a movie that's been voted, that has been identified as a good one for our community.
That could be scary. How is enrollment? How much up are we?
Let's see, well, I know that we had 20 new members. We have 20 new handwritten forms that came in this summer based on the field trip to Oshkosh, so that was exciting. And one new club, but those aren't even on the books yet. So we have the other in-school club starting in Flambeau, expecting more enrollments as the school year starts there. So I would expect another 15 to 20 paper enrollments. And that's again supporting the one of 4 kinds of 4-H clubs that there are. We've been doing really well with our after-school and community clubs. The two that, the other one is a military club, and then the 4th one is that in-school club that a lot of our leaders council members, as you know, they're very busy. So to ask them to do more or start more clubs is not something there's a lot of bandwidth for. So having the new clubs in this in-school clubs helps the school with some of their teaching deficiencies and also helps meet the children where they're at. You have that number, Lori?
So if you look at our enrollment, this is 4-H online, there's 185 approved enrollments, but then this 19 is in addition to that. It's just those are leaders that haven't completed their trainings yet. And then there's 10 incomplete, and it's a variety of volunteers, members, and Clover Buds. They just started and never finished. So.
We could technically be back up over 200 then.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's a way I can go to a prior year and look that up, but yeah. Not sure how to do that right now. But that, the new club would be a chartered group for this next enrollment period.
Right.
So, yeah, we're closing down. Fall is a very busy time for 4-H. The celebrating the success of, the Youth with Achievement Day, and then the leadership, and then the re-enrollments. It's
With re-enrollment's by November.
you have to be re-enrolled by November. So I think we open it up October 1st.
What's your average age spent? About 200?
We were down, if I remember correctly, Lori, correct me if I'm wrong, we were down like 130 to 140 at one time.
Yeah, I was trying to get to a site too, but it's not the right one.
Yeah. And we've had our peaks at 220 or, ish, but I mean, if you do the math, if there's just so much training involved, and so many of our families don't have internet, and this is all internet based, so it's a struggle.
some counties have posted some things at the library and invited families in to help them through that process of, you know, at community places where there are computers and broadband. Cause even if you have a phone or a computer, doesn't mean you can always hook up, so.
That's the downside of internet.
Any other questions for Mary?
I was wondering, you were waiting for the, you know, you said the Flambeau School started first being interested in that project grant. Are you doing anything now to, or is anybody contacting you, or if you are doing any PR with other schools, or?
I'd like to prove the feasibility of this in the first year
Okay,
with Flambeau, because there's some momentum there. I'm willing to take ideas on what we'd want to do. Right now, I don't wanna overpromise with other schools if it doesn't work with, well, it's working with Flambeau. I don't wanna overpromise. I need to see what kind of time requirements it takes from me and the school, and I'm hoping to get some feedback from them before we move on to other schools, unless we have other recommendations here.
so when would that year be done? I don't remember when you started with it.
Well, it will, the curriculum planning would start in the fall and go through the spring. We would have part-time help ideally starting in September, going through May.
My only thing on that, and nothing against it, okay? I would just, and I know it's difficult because through Farm Bureau, we do some programs for 4th and 5th grade. And to get some of these schools to participate, you might as well pull hen's teeth, cause that's what it is. But I think my goal would be to get as many as possible to participate, whether it's Bruce or Ladysmith or OLS is getting to be a fairly large clientele now too, so that is one that has always participated with Farm Bureau. Flambeau is another one. Ladysmith is very hit and miss, but as our goal is with that, I would like to see the same with anything from 4-H, that as many as can be reached as possible.
That's what I hear you saying, OLS, might be a next one to work with. But you know, just the programmatics of this, we have talked about and approved the co-matching of the funding for this. If we were to move on with another school, that amount would probably double, so we'd have to be ready to talk through that as well.
I don't think he's saying to do an AmeriCorps position for the other schools,
Okay.
just when you're talking
Right.
STEM, broaden it to other schools other than Flambeau.
Right, I mean,
So-
you might be surprised at some of them where, if you can actually get in there and talk to them, to get people interested and involved, and Ladysmith has been a very hard. We had one teacher at Ladysmith that wouldn't fail, but when she retired, Farm Bureau hasn't been able to get into the school since.
But Bruce has a phenomenal robotics program.
Yeah.
And, I know, Brianne had went to, what do they call them, open houses? So that's where she picked up a lot of new kids, just going to, so school's gonna be, I don't know when they are, but finding out when those are, that's a good place to pick up kids. That sounded wrong, but I meant it very well.
I went to a couple last year. And they were
Yep, yep, yep,
came from there.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's working out the kinks, is what I, with one, and then being able to expand it, cause I agree that trying to expand 4-H, because it's one of those 4 clubs, right? And we know community clubs have been around forever, so, expanding into schools and having school clubs is another way to do it, to expand youth being involved in 4-H, so.
certainly if there's a school asking for 4-H to come talk about STEM, I'd like to know who that person is specifically, so I can start talking to them. Very much.
It gets harder and harder, and I think one of the bridges to cross is to almost beat it through some people's head that 4-H is just not for farm kids. There is stuff in unlimited amount of categories, whether you live in town, you live in the country, you're a farmer, whatever it is, there is something there for the kids. And it's had a stigma that it was just for the farm kids, and that's not true. That's I think, in my mind, is one of the hurdles that's gotta be, and don't ask me how to do it, because I've tried and completely failed, so.
Yeah, it is the hurdle, because in order to have projects and have things, you have to have people who are willing to lead it. And, that's difficult when people are strapped to do everything else in the world too sometimes.
And if you back up, there's some of the urban kids that were involved, I can remember seeing some phenomenal woodworking projects that come through 4-H into the fairs, or, I'm not sure what class it is, but, or would be in the department, but there used to be some just absolutely phenomenal clothing that was made that used to hang in there, and that kind of, and the woodworking stuff is still being done, it's just nobody's getting to them to get them to enter it, and showcase what they work so hard to do.
Who's a champion for that we can tap into? It's your time.
Well, Brittany did say, that there is an entry in every aspect of the fair this year. That is huge.
Part of it,
Huge.
Lori, I will tell you right out what has been told to Farm Bureau. We do what they call an essay contest for the kids. It's 4th grade and 5th grade, and it's got to do with something. One year it was on cranberries. I forget what last year's was now. But it's always something food related, where your food comes from. And Ladysmith has told us right up that don't fit our curriculum, we ain't got time. And how to get past that is what I don't know. Say OLS has always jumped in, we've got both classes, we'd have whatever number was in that class, we'd have that many essays. Flammable was the same way, except for one kid, her mom and dad wouldn't let her do it. Why, I don't know. That was an essay on how cranberries are raised and processed, but Ladysmith and Bruce, the same way. Bruce never has.
New school year, new teachers, new possibilities.
Hopefully, yes.
I'll be planning at the open house that's on my calendar, so good input, thank you, appreciate it.
Was there any other questions for Mary or Lori?
Do you wanna mention your attachment?
Yeah, I don't wanna tackle
Yeah, I
number
think it's
3,
later.
so, or C. But I have the budget, you wanna go to Lori, or you wanna hop to Lori?
Either one, it depends.
I don't remember what's the line.
The budget will be pretty easy. Jamie did this one for me too. So Lori, provided, this, so it's, I have a note. 37,247 for the agent's contracts. And Jamie, so the intern is still in here, and, she took what we had in our non-lapsing, that comp here, and put it in, for the AmeriCorps position. So, We are a bit over the levy target, so I'm sure, the, next committee will notice that and, whittle away. So, but this is, I guess what we're gonna go with, this is Plan A.
Scroll back.
Sure.
We're over because, contract went up.
Salaries go up, I mean, everything goes up, so, so I'm guessing that's probably it. I don't see, wait, what's this, 4-H? Yeah, that was the same as last year. So I'm guessing it's just, and that went down. So I'm thinking it's that and, the payroll stuff up here, I mean, that's, you know, 100,000, but. And the revenue is the same, so. But getting the additional $2,000 will
See where the,
help,
see where the bean comes.
yeah, that'll go down here,
That's all we can do.
yeah, cause that's considered a donation, so. Will help.
Is there a motion to approve the budget?
So the resources one,
Mhm.
that one we're way under budget for this year.
A lot of bills aren't in yet. There's, this 4-H and youth ed, this is, where the educator, spends a lot out of. And then this right here is where the reimbursements come in. So, for example, every project has a copy code. It gets billed 4-H, but then we get reimbursements. Or if I buy something for Leaders Council, whatever, it gets reimbursed. So technically, there's $1,500 if you take the expense minus what needs to come in, for 4-H to spend in a year.
So it's just a pass.
Yeah, and this 84469, that is what was down here. So she just threw it in for the AmeriCorps position. Yeah, but this is keeping everything pretty much same as last year, but, and then, of course, if we underspend, this goes back to general levy, and last year, it was several thousand that went back.
I mean, right now we spent 364 in 6 months out of 3,000. So.
That's gonna, I'm a little behind on bills, that's, and she had camp, so. Some of these numbers will look a lot different. And they'll get sent back with revised numbers, so you'll see better numbers next time. This is just sending it on to finance. Huh?
Yeah, like you're so busy.
I have nothing to do.
Nothing better to do.
Yeah. So, this is Plan A, all I can say.
Again, I would ask if there is a motion to approve this budget, pass it on to finance.
While you're pondering that, there's another one that is involved with extension. This is the FoodWise, used to be called WNEP. This is just $500. If we use it, great. Because we have a shared position between Baron and Rusk. And so when they come, make copies, phone, things like that. There's been hardly anything that's ever hit this budget. Because there's community garden money, that's its non-lapsing funds. So typically, you give us $500 in a budget, and it goes right back to you. So those are the extension budgets.
I'll make a motion to approve this budget.
Just this one?
Still my opinion.
Okay, so this is the FoodWise one.
Motion's been made, is there a second? made and seconded, is there any further questions? None being heard, all in favor signify by aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
So basically, the thing that's killing our budget is the extension contract. Why did that go up so much?
It's the kind of standard 3% that goes up every year, I think. It's kind of like your salaries here in your home county as well, the amount that goes up.
And she threw in the 1,400 for a co-share of the AmeriCorps position.
She stuck that in the contract line.
She did.
I'll make a motion to approve this budget as well.
And forward finance. Motion's been made to approve, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Lois. Any further questions or comments? None being heard, all in favor signify by aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Bill reports were scattered around.
We have one yet here with Lori.
Oh, I'm sorry, the big one. I'm sorry.
I don't know, I mean, it looks like a big one. I don't know if you had midnight reading that you wanted to read through all that. I was asked, all of the area extension directors across the state were asked to make sure that this got to all of you. Because, there had been work done with Wisconsin Counties Association, and if you've been around with this for a while, there was a WEXA organization, there were other organizations that were working on this, and then they kind of disbanded, and then, in the middle of working on this. And so it was, one of those things that's always been there, but then we realized that maybe not, it didn't come through Wisconsin Counties Association, and we hadn't made the effort to get it out to you, so, I was just asked to make sure that it got out to everyone. What I heard from other area directors is that they typically have, included this in kind of a welcoming packet over the last couple of years of new committee members to help better explain the partnership, with us, and so that's really what it was. I sent it out to all of my 5 counties and said, can we just make sure this gets into the packet for August so that everyone has it at the same time? So in my head, I know, okay, in August of 2023, I made sure it was available, and that if there are new committee members that join us at any point, I can make sure they get it too. So I would say it's kind of a living document. There are people that are speaking into it and updating it and all of that. It is designed to go, in some ways, help explain the contract a little bit better too. So anyway, it looked like a big thing, like, hey, I gotta get this in the packet, but it really was just that, like, across the state, we're trying to make sure it gets communicated out. So if there are questions about it, I'm happy to answer them. I think for me, when I read through it, I hope that it reads a little bit more. I hate our academic language sometimes, but I hope it reads a little bit easier than contracts. But just puts in perspective, different responsibilities and different roles and different people. I think in particular for Rusk County, when I look through it, I think about it as the one that sticks out to me, quite honestly, is I think page 8 with the office support section. I know that I look at that one sometimes. There's also just been some like a 4-H staffing plan that we've been trying to work through of what are the best recommendations of what kind of support for what size of program. Rusk is considered a rural medium program, and so with that, what's recommended is 20 hours a week of support for a program that size, and we don't come close to that here in Rusk, but again, that's what we're trying to shoot for, and so if you hear me talking about that, you know, that's the data I'm trying to go by. So that's what sticks out to me is office support, as well as, my role, I think, is in there, the educators' roles are in there. I don't know if that document, when it came to your packet, if you're able to click on any of those, positions or not, but.
Most of the committee members want them in PDFs. Yes, so, but I can email that version out if anybody wants that. Cause I think that's the version you sent me.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. Other than that, it's on the Z drive.
I want it black and white.
You got it in black and white, right there, Terry. But then you can't click on these things.
Right.
Yeah, the
That's-
other part, I think, if you can scroll down, Charmaine, and I'll try and, maybe it's extension educators or something.
Oh, that's AED.
Oh, that
That one?
see, yeah, those divisional extension overview, Ag Institute, all those different roles should be clickable too. So I can send you a link, and again, for more reading, if you would like it. There are links that can be attached to that. So that's it on my end. I'm happy to, questions you might have or things I could take it back to the team that's working on keeping that a live document, but.
Not until I can sit down and read it.
I hope it doesn't, isn't too hard. It's better than a lot of the stuff that we put down, I'll be completely honest. I can kind of make sense of this one, most of them I'm not sure about sometimes, but. Okay, go ahead.
No. Thanks, Lori. You got anything else you want
Today.
to know us with? Take a look at the budgets. There we go. Anything else?
Thank you guys. Thank you.
Thanks. What's that, Jim?
Make a motion to pay the bills.
Motion made to pay the bills, second?
I was gonna add a question.
Oh, okay.
Did I miss something?
I probably did. I gotta find it.
Sure.
It was, okay, so I was just curious if this was actually duplication or if they actually ordered probably 4,000 envelopes.
Or what?
4,000 envelopes.
Where you at, Tom?
I'm on circuit court.
I can pull up their bills if it's been processed.
There's two entries here. They're both on the same day.
Circuit card, oh.
And they're both for the same amount of money, $205.
Yep, they're probably split between budget lines is my guess. Cause sometimes when I pay a bill, I split it like a gazillion ways, you know, like 20% trails and 20% fairgrounds, you know. But I haven't found it yet oh, circuit court, there's a signature.
First page. About 3/4 of the way down.
Looks like they
Rudy Printing.
both have the same numbers assigned.
What do they do?
Both just say circuit
Circuit
court
court
supplies.
supplies.
They have two different invoice numbers.
Oh,
Yeah, they have two different invoice
Yeah.
numbers. But they're the same day. So,
yeah, okay, alright, let me look this up here. 101,290, 101,290. I'm not going to be able to pull it up because they went to the cloud yesterday and all of the invoices are not visible. So, otherwise, I'd be able to see it, but, so I can't tell you that one.
I have a motion on the floor to pay the bills,
I'll second
seconded by Mr. Kudo. Any further questions or comments on the bills? None being heard, all in favor signify by aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
I get an error when I pull it up.
it. So is it at some point accessible then, or just because it was just that?
It's because they converted from server to the cloud. All the invoices, cause we have a gazillion invoices, haven't been uploaded to the cloud or something. IT is working with Civic on it, so, I noticed that last night when I was doing bills. I'm like, oh, it all disappeared. So, anyway, but circuit court should have that invoice. It'd either be in their email or a paper copy, so, yeah, there's record of everything,
Alright,
so, but I can't tell just looking at it. You,
So next meeting's what, 6th?
looks like it.
September 6th.
I'll have to pass it the other way next month.
yeah.
Take turns. tell you today, and I forgot.
Vicky volunteered you to park cars.
No.
Oh, you don't wanna park cars with me?
Then she's charging for the parking, she's collecting the parking.
No, we have you working in the chuck wagon, I believe on Saturday, no, I have you on here somewhere, Lois.
It's not Lois's valet service?
Yeah, Lois is gonna do the shuttle, let's see.
She would.
Yes, on Saturday, from 2 to 5, and you can stay as long as you want, so, it's really hard, it's very challenging to get volunteers on Saturday, cause most of the people on the board and in the fair are involved in livestock, in small animal auctions, so, you know, so in the chuck wagon, there's just not, all the 4-H clubs, we try to get the 4-H clubs to work it and then give them a percent of the proceeds, but they're all super busy. So we have nobody for those slots. So I have you working with Joan. Joan is the site manager down at the senior center. So, you'll be serving up food,
Okay.
working in the kitchen type thing, so.
Did you ever get the Spanish club or that didn't go?
Spanish Club is not doing the popcorn in the grandstands like they did the last few years, but instead they're going to do a shift for the inflatables. They're gonna take a day to do the inflatables. So,
And I would be collecting and ordering. And she would-
yeah, people come in, Shayna will, put you to work. So somebody will be taking the money, somebody will be taking the orders, some will be just serving up the food when it's done. So, but it's all in one building, you know, right there, so, that's where we needed the most help, cause Saturday is just really hard to get people.
There's nothing else, is there a motion to adjourn?
Make motion to adjourn the meeting.
Is there any opposition? All in favor, signify by aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.
Now we're off to the next meeting.
First Friday, I just need to pay that notice, I just.
Yes, are you sticking with noon? Okay, yep, James Call is who's going to meet you out there.
I just need to give me the keys, whatever else.
Yep,
And then we can-
and he won't be able to hang out long because he has to be in Goose Farmers Market at so, but I said he's been there before, so, give you the key, the welcome packet, same as last year.
Okay, I wasn't the one to receive it last year, so that's what I'm.
Oh, yeah, and I think I checked the group out last year, but, yeah, he's able to do that as well, so.
John? Farm Bureau's gonna wind up getting rescheduled.
Good, and, yeah, the stove will be nice,
Sir?
yes, make sure Phil operates that stove. And yeah, if you wanna check out the swinging bridge, cause that's gonna be up in
Of course,
future.
then when I got moved